Go.
Okay, so now we're on the second phase of what we're going to be doing here with this bread dough. It's been sitting here now about 15 minutes. A little trick of mine is that I put the oven on low heat and I just let it heat up near the vents, make sure it's a warm place. But you'll see now that the dough is about double the size it was before. So now what we're going to do is we're going to punch it and knead it again on a lightly floured cutting board. Punch it, and we're just going to put the dough on the board. Still a little sticky, which is good. And we're going to knead it again. Not very much this time. We're not going to over knead. Just a little bit. What we're doing is we're getting the air out of the dough. You can hear it pop a couple of times. And it has a very good texture right now. And we're going to put it back into a ball again. Here's my other bowl. Put it in there. Cover it with a dish again. On a dishcloth. Put it near a warm area again. This time we'll let it sit for about 45 minutes. And in preparation for when we're going to be pulling it out of that second kneading, all I've done is I've prepared on a baking dish, large baking dish, just a piece of parchment paper. Prevent sticking. You don't have to worry about greasing anything or flouring anything. So when we bring it out the second time, we'll cut it up and then we'll put it on this and then we'll show you what you do after that. Okay, so now we are working towards the end of the second cycle of the rising because we've kneaded the dough twice now. And as you can see, it is puffed up to at least double the size again. And what we're going to do now is we're going to separate it into the bread rolls that we want to make. So, again, lightly dust over the cutting board. Push down. And like I said, with your hands coated with a little bit of flour, it makes it a lot easier to manipulate the dough. And now what we're going to do is we're going to stretch it out. Now there's no particular sizes that you need to make because whether they're small rolls or big rolls, the process is the same. So what I do is I just roll it out. And then with your pastry knife, just going to cut it up into little portions and just roll it into a ball. And I prepared, like I said, my large baking sheet, and I line it with parchment paper. And we're probably going to get about 7 or 8 rolls out of this, and I just plop it onto the parchment paper. Roll it up into balls. It is a tedious, not a tedious, it's a long process. And by the time you start to finish, it's about 3 hours or so. So we're going to get 8 out of this. Then when that's done, we're going to let it sit for another 40 minutes. They're going to expand again. And they'll even touch each other. It's not a problem. We're going to cover it again with a dish towel. And let it sit, like I said, another 40 minutes. And then 15 minutes before the 45 minutes is up, preheat your oven to 450 degrees. And then we'll put them in, and then I'll show you the final product. Okay, so we've let the dough sit in a warm area for about 45 minutes. And we preheated the oven at 450 degrees. Even if they're touching, that's not a problem, because you don't want to cut them, you don't want them to deflate. So just let them be, and we're going to put them in the oven on a middle rack, 450 degrees, and we're going to let it bake for about 15 to 20 minutes. And you'll know when they're going to be ready when they start being golden brown on the top. So you want to burn them, you want to undercook them, but once they're golden on the top, you're pretty well sure that the buns are going to be ready. So when we take them out, we'll show you what they look like, and then I'll tell you what you can do with them. Okay, so we've had them in the oven now for about 15 minutes. This is a hot oven, it's a gas range. So you want to put the buns in, like I said, for about 15 to 20 minutes, but erring on the side of caution, just check them over until they're golden brown. Nice red buns. Now you can separate them without the fear of them collapsing. Turned out nice. They're not burned. Parchment paper is great for this. You can let them cool off. Let them cool off for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Now there are no preservatives in this recipe, but if you put them in a Ziploc bag, these are about 4 days old. They're still nice and soft. If you want them warm, just put them in the microwave for about 30 seconds and put some butter on it. I usually cut them in half, put some prosciutto, a bit of mustard, whatnot. And you have now some this, and I'll recap during my little thing of wine here, because we had to have wine while we're making this. Just to recap, what we did was, in 1 cup of warm water, you put 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast and let it ferment a little or activate into the warm water. Then I used 1/2 cup of flour mixed in with the yeast and the water. And then I added another 2 cups and rolled it into flour into a bowl, into a rough ball, and then I let it sit for about 15 minutes. And after the 15 minutes, I kneaded the first knead for about 4 or 5 minutes on the board, and then I let it sit in a warm area for about an hour. Then I punched it, did a second knead, rolled it up into another ball again, put it into another bowl, covered it in a warm area, let it sit for about another 45 minutes. Then I took it out, and then I separated it into 6 to 8 rolls on the parchment paper, covered lightly, and let it sit for about 45 minutes, preheated my oven to 450 degrees. And then I baked this for about 15 minutes. And now we have our nice rolls.
And
that's
salut.
it. Cheers. Enjoy.